Yes, yeah, me, sir, me.
Okay, fine. Then thank you very much. So should I start now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Manoj, for giving this opportunity and introducing me. So presently, I am working at Indian Institute of Technology, Mandi, and today we'll be going to discuss mostly the two topics of which related to the large-scale grid integration of renewable energy. One is more towards the technical side, and second one would be at the regulatory or uh, reform side. So we'll be going to discuss this thing. So next slide, please. So just a little bit introduction of about IIT Mandi. IIT Mandi is situated in Himachal Pradesh. It is very near to a hill station known as Kullu and Manali, around 100 kilometer from here. And recently, Atal Tunnel is also got inaugurated around 9-kilometer tunnel, and it's very beautiful landscaping is there. So you are, I hope you will find some time to visit IIT Mandi and the nearby places. So IIT Mandi is currently having 130 faculty member, around 2,000 students, and but Mandi is a very small town. So, but a very well-established, good-looking campus is already established here, and this is one of the new IIT. So, next slide, please. So, in IIT Mandi, we are having broad schools. I belongs to School of Computing and Electrical Engineering, and similarly, we have also established few research centers. Which generally house a very sophisticated, costly research infrastructure, and a good number of faculty members are working in the area of materials. Then we also have developed in our school a class 100 clean room under the Center for Design and Fabrication of Electronic Devices. And similarly, we are also working in many other area of energy and bio-related areas. Next slide, please. The School of Computing and Electrical Engineering offers a degree in electrical engineering, computer science, and MTech program we are running in photonics and drives, VLSI, communication and signal processing. We are also offering MS by Research, which is a 3 years program, as well as the PhD degree. So these are the couple of programs what my school is offering. Next slide, please. Then IIT Mandi focuses on development of the technologies for the sustainable development in the country, green energy technology. Then materials is a big area where IIT Mandi is having a very good focus. Then two other areas are there which are upcoming is like integrated mountain development and agriculture and food processing technology. So good amount of research and teaching is being done in these areas, and we have developed a very good and excellent research facility in these areas. Next slide, please. So coming to the topic of today's discussion, that we want to promote renewable energy technology. I think slide is coming out with delay. That's fine. Now it's there. Yeah. So we are discussing about that how a large scale integration of renewable energy can be promoted. What is the reason behind that? Then we need to see that a security of supply, climate change, and as well as to adopt a way of sustainability in our day-to-day life to the technology use also is one of the uh, uh, pushing is there which promotes renewable energy. There were other technologies development can also be there, like how to utilize the fossil fuels with a better utilization in which a clean uses are there or less carbon emissions are there or other gases are there. So that there are many such possibilities are there. But when we are talking about renewable energy, then we are able to see that there is a two major renewable energy sources like wind and solar power are proved themselves with a maturity of technology that they will be able to provide a power and energy with a continuous and as well as in a large scale, and will be able to replace the conventional sources. So if we talk about that what are the conventional sources of producing the energy, then we can see it is mostly a thermal base in India, as well as a hydro potential is also there, and we are utilizing or we are continuously increasing that potential also. But how these technologies are producing energy, they generally utilizing the steam or hydro input to run a big conventional synchronous machines. But what about the wind and solar power? For a wind, then we are able to see it is generally made up of a generators of a smaller capacity. Generally, it is ranging from few kilowatts to few megawatts. And as we are going towards the more in a offshore area where the large wind turbines are also there with couple of megawatts of capacity. So this is how we are able to see. But one important point we can see, which is from development of the wind and solar power, that in this case, as compared to the conventional sources, we are having thousands of generators, thousands of generation, small scale generations, which are coupled together, making a very big wind and solar farm. As well as the second point is that this technology can be deployed very fast, and within few months, a wind farm or solar farm can come up as which is not possible with a big hydro or big thermal power station. So these are the two important things that we need to consider when we are talking about the large scale grid integration of renewable energy. Next slide, please. So a couple of reasons we are already able to discuss that the problems with the fossil fuel, signing of treaties at international level, as well as to provide energy security. We are continuously moving towards the renewable energy sources. But with this, we are also able to see that when this renewable energy sources is getting developed, then they are easily able to replace the base power plants, but what are the challenges are there which that still need to be addressed? So we'll be going to discuss in today most of these challenges. So next slide, please. Yeah. So renewable energy technology with there was a clear mission was there from Government of India, and Government of India has also, next slide please, has also established a ministry. This ministry is currently is having a name of Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, which is continuously pushing the development of and more utilization of renewable energy sources in country. So we can see that from couple of decades, Government of India has a good focus on development of renewable energy by continuously having a regulatory reforms also, and as well as by having a complete ministry to promote the renewable energy sources. Next slide, please. So we are also able to see that broadly the renewable energy can be classified into two. One is known as generally interactive or grid integrated renewable power, and another one is known as off-grid or captive power plants also. The in grid integrative renewable power, we can see that the energy which is being fed into the grid, and then overall grid is utilizing this energy. But in a captive power plants or off-grid, mostly it is utilized in a good isolated manner, or not to be sometimes not to be utilized by as a electrical power. So this is systems are there. And Government of India has provided not only the grid interactive renewable power, but also many such schemes are available, which are continuously pushing for utilization of solar and wind energy. And is also there are many such devices, many such loads are also being developed, which can be utilized in a off-grid manner. So many such schemes are there, but still it required a good push from the society as well as from the uh, vendors level also, so that such type of devices got more proliferation in country. Like a simple example is a solar cooker or solar thermal based water purifiers. So such type of devices are required, which are working without electricity. Next slide, please. So Government of India has also provided many regulatory reforms like providing a subsidy by changing the policies, by developing a new regulations, as well as by providing a loans to many such system or by providing tax rebates so that the renewable energy development can be continuously can be there. And due to this, we are able to see that a wind energy technology which got very much established in country based on such impetus from the government by at different level and to help them very well. Next slide, please. So in our country, we are also have established a very good power system transmission network, having a at a different level to evacuate the power, to send the power from generation to the load end. Then, but still, there are some constraints we are able to see for a integration of renewable energy. The reason being. Uh, Main reason for this is that sometimes renewable energy sources got installed or can come up so fast that augmentation of the network infrastructure in that area generally where the renewable energy is available, and mostly this is a very far end of the country rural area where such network infrastructure is not there, so evacuation of power becomes very problematic, and sometimes it also act as a bottleneck for the promotion of the renewable energy. Some of the cases where we can see that augmentation is so important, especially in the Tamil Nadu region, where during the windy season, sometimes a curtailment is required because the energy is too much from the renewable, but the transmission capacity is not there. But for this, Power Grid is also establishing a green corridor to evacuate the renewable power from such pockets to the main grid and to the different load side. So this is also a effort is going from a transmission system network side also. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this slide is giving this a installed generation capacity. We are having around 87 of gigawatt of installed generation capacity, which 37 of around wind and 34 is of solar power. So we can see that solar is also take up very fast, and it is continuously pushed by the many sectors, including rooftop as well as the large scale solar farm, as well as SPV based or as well as the solar thermal based also. So it is continuously increasing. Yes. Next slide, please. So to promote the technical impetus to the promotion of the renewable energy, few research centers are also established. They are also doing a certification of the technology also. Some of the technology which are dedicatedly promoted by the one of the center is like Center for Wind Energy Technology by Chennai, then Solar Energy Center in Gurgaon, and AHEC at IIT Roorkee, and similarly others. And now these centers are known as National Institute, and they are providing a good technical uh, solutions as well as promoting the renewable energy technology in country by continuously providing the not only the technical side but also the financial side as well as regulatory reforms. Next slide, please. To promote the renewable energy, especially the solar, Government of India has established a very ambitious plan known as Jawaharlal Nehru Solar Mission, is having a target of 100 gigawatt of solar power by 2022, and in which 40 gigawatt is expected from the rooftop, and remaining is from the large and medium scale connected solar projects are also there. In this mission, next slide, please. In this mission, that off-grid solar power is also expected, and with this, we can also see that our country is or community or social society is always utilizing the availability of solar in our day-to-day life as compared to any other developed country. So that part is already there, but still a innovation is required, a more proliferation is required in a society where we will be able to utilize innovative products for our day-to-day life, where a good availability of solar is there. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. One more slide. Yes. So in broadly, we can see that a good push is there to have a sustainability and utilization of renewable energy in country. And there is another a big driver is there, which is pushing more and more utilization of renewable energy from the government of India side, which is known as RPO. What is this RPO? RPO is known as Renewable Purchase Obligation. So under this obligation, it is expected that certain amount of, or we can say minimum amount of renewable energy should be purchased in a state and to meet the mandatory electric energy requirement. So this is known as RPO requirement. This RPO requirement is given by State Electricity Regulatory Commission. Example, let a particular state is saying that a 5% of RPO requirement is there. It means 5% of the energy which is to be consumed in the state should be from the renewable energy. So that is what is expected. That is what is expected in a RPO. Similarly, we can see that such RPO requirements becomes very strict sometime, or such RPO requirements very lenient sometime. For an example, let in case of a state like Haryana, where availability of solar and wind is in very restrictive manner, and if a particular state is expecting that a certain amount of or minimum amount of renewable energy need to be consumed in a that particular financial year, then for that state it would be very difficult due to the geographical reasons. So one option is that state can have a bilateral contract with different renewable energy producer and will be able to utilize this. Similarly, there is a restriction is there for other states. But some of the states, they are able to meet the RPO requirement very easily, even they are surpassing it. So it means they are having a extra amount of renewable energy, what they are able to produce and able to consume. For such scenario where the geographical constraints are there, a new scheme is also being promoted in country to meet such RPO requirements, which is known as Renewable Energy Certificate Mechanism. So that particular certificate mechanism, how the pricing of the certificates are being decided on, what is a way on these certificates are being distributed or traded, we'll be going to discuss in the second session of the today. We'll be able to see. So overall, I would like to just highlight that renewable purchase obligation requirements, which is now slowly getting very stricter and to be mandatorily to be fulfilled by the state, is forcing the states to have a more and more utilization of the renewable energy in the respective states. So this is a very big push from the regulation side, so that the renewable energy are continuously being utilized in the uh, in the in the electrical power system, should not be discouraged. Okay. Next slide, please. So with this, we can see that based on this push and situation in country, the integration of renewable energy is increasing. The penetration level of renewable energy in some states are even crossing in some season even more than 50% also. So with this scenario, we can see that a technical reforms are also required. What are these technical reforms? These are generally known as grid connection requirement. Why these are very important? The reason these are very important, because we are having a very big conventional synchronous machines, which is controlling the overall power system. But when we are going to have a thousands of such generations, which are mostly converter interface with the grid, it means the power is processed through the powertronic converters, and with sometimes a machine is there or a static solar power, solar PV panels or solar thermal energy based systems are also there. Then suddenly we are able to see that the grid may behave in a different manner. Who would be going to provide a primary and secondary control? This could be a question. So that's why the Indian Electricity Grid Code, similarly other grid codes in country as well as abroad, in many countries where the high penetration of renewable energy sources are there, they are able to come up with a grid connection requirements or grid codes, which is saying that what will be the role of the renewable energy sources when their penetration level is high. So it means more and more responsibility is also given to the renewable energy sources to participate in the grid stability and maintaining the grid control. So this is expected. Earlier, what used to happen that as soon as some abnormal condition is there, renewable energy sources like wind turbines or solar PV panels, solar farms, they just simply getting disconnected from the grid, and they are not participating in maintaining the grid frequency and the power factor or voltage level. So such scenarios were taken. But as their penetration is higher, it is expected, and slowly the grid codes are getting more strict as the penetration level of the wind and solar power or the renewable energy sources that are increasing. So this is we will be going to discuss. Other than the issue which I have already mentioned is about the evacuation of the power. This is also being addressed by having a better, strong transmission grid, which is extended towards almost every part of the country. The another issue which is also an important, which need to be addressed, which is known as intermittency of the renewable energy sources. As we are aware of, wind and solar both are nature dependent, and it's not in our control. But what in our control as an engineer, we are continuously working to utilize maximum amount of renewable energy which is available in the nature to be converted from our technology to the electrical power, and it can be utilized. So this is what a second scenario is there. So it means whenever we are talking about intermittency, we need to see that how a scheduling or dispatch of the renewable energy sources can be addressed. So that is a concern. We'll be going to discuss in coming few slides how such scenarios can also be addressed by having several solutions. So next slide, please. So in a broad sense, we'll be able to discuss two topics in these two sessions. One is about the technical connection issues, grid connection issues, grid codes, or second one is the economic issues, or more about that, how renewable energy sources by utilizing a regulatory reforms can be easily integrated into the system. If there even the capital cost is high as compared to the other sources, but with a very innovative bidding mechanism schemes, we are able to see that the pricing of the solar PV is even reducing and less than the 3 rupees per unit. So that scenario is also are there in India as compared to a couple of years ago when the SPV based electricity was costing around 15 to 18 rupees per unit. So this is what we are able to witness by utilizing a way of you can say bidding in our power system. Next slide, please. So overall, we will be going to discuss this system operational aspects. So let's first see what is the grid codes or grid connection issue. What are the grid codes? Grid codes are a technical guidelines, or we can say that a minimum set of rules which required for connection of renewable energy sources with the grid. It may not be the only renewable energy sources, but it should be applicable for all such resources, loads, source, or any other devices but we'll be going to focus mainly on that. What are the grid connection requirements are there for renewable energy sources? Next slide, please. So, what are the major grid connection uh, requirements? This can be given here. The first one is that how a active power can be controlled from renewable energy sources. It means how a renewable energy sources can participate in the frequency regulation. Then second one is how they will be able to provide a reactive power to maintain the voltage into the system also. The third point is known as fault ride through capability. It means whenever a fault is there or a abnormal condition is there, how renewable energy sources will be able to have a fault ride through, as well as they will be able to safeguard them, as well as during this fault, how they will be able to participate in the maintenance of the grid stability. So this is what we'll be able to discuss in the other in the grid connection requirements. Similarly, there is a issue of smaller issues of known as interconnection point, where the all such uh, technical connections need to be monitored. That these are the some of the smaller issues are there which need to be understood also. Next slide, please. So in meeting the grid connection requirement, we'll be going to discuss mostly in a sense of have a renewable energy specifically to the wind power. So we'll be able to see how the wind power technology is able to meet such grid connection requirement, and then similarly our understanding can be extended for other type of renewable energy sources. So let's see how the wind energy technology is got developed and how it is able to meet such grid connection requirement. Sometimes a particular technology is able to meet by having a certain specific developments in that technology. Sometimes overall, like an example, a individual wind turbine or wind energy conversion system is able to meet all such grid connection requirement. If it is not possible, then what we can do, we can provide a solution which can act as a additional uh, device or additional system which is connected at a overall wind farm level and is able to help the technology to meet the grid connection requirement. So both of the approaches are possible. So let's see what is wind power, and which type of technology we are able to utilize for the wind power development. And in this case, we can see that a very simple understanding is there that wind turbine is converting mechanical energy, kinetic energy into mechanical energy, the kinetic energy available in the moving wind. And this wind turbine is by utilizing a gearbox, or sometimes gearbox is also not there. It is connected to a electrical generator, and this generator, when it is rotating, which is connected to the grid through direct connection or sometimes by utilizing power tonic converter, is able to generate a power, and this power is based on the voltage and frequency can be synchronized with the grid and can fed into the grid. So this is how a simple wind energy conversion system is working. Kinetic energy in the moving wind is converted into mechanical energy by wind turbines, and then this wind turbine is connected to a generator which generates the electricity and feeds into the grid. So next slide, please. The kinetic energy available in the grid is half mv square in the moving wind, and when we talk about the power, which is given as a half rho, I think one slide back, please. The power which is given as half rho a v cube, where rho is the density, and in the moving fluid, a is the rotor swept area and v is the velocity in the wind. So this expression we can see the half rho a v cube, where v is the velocity, so v cube is coming. It means the side which should have a high velocity of the wind, because the power which we are able to get is coming as a v cube. So this is why we are continuously looking for a windy sites. We are looking for a windy sites in the sea area also. We are looking for a site by having a higher and higher hub height, by having longer uh, towers. So these are the continuously we are doing the efforts to gain and have the more and more renewable energy. So this particular slide is talking about estimated wind potential. This data is very old, given by CWAT, but which is saying that around 46 gigawatt of wind potential is available in India, considering a certain amount of land availability. But when we are talking about a higher hub height, offshore also, we are see that this data is continuously got updated, and country is having even more than 90 gigawatt of wind potential presently based on the current technology. So continuously we are able to identify good other sites as well as at a higher hub height, more amount of renewable energy can be can be captured. So next slide, please. So overall, in nutshell, we can say that a good potential of renewable energy and especially wind is available in country. The government of India has provided many reforms by providing many subsidies, by providing a good regulations also, so that more and more amount of renewable energy can be integrated into the system. With this, a good penetration level has been already achieved, but now we have to see that how a grid connection requirements can also be fulfilled so that our power system remains stable and secure. Next slide, please. This slide is giving us a overall scenario of wind energy technology. So there are many such variation in the generator, turbine system, and grid connection is there. In the right hand side figure is giving us a different type of configurations which are possible to generate the renewable energy, especially a broad picture of overall wind energy conversion system. So left hand side we can see there is a power conversion is there from kinetic energy to the mechanical energy by utilizing a wind turbine. In this case, this diagram is giving us a 3-blade system, but there are many such possibilities are there in which the number of blades can be changed. The shape of the blades can also be changed. There are different type of systems are possible, but 3-blade base system is the most popular scheme. Then this wind turbine is connected to the generator through a gearbox. Why this gearbox is required? The gearbox is required because the electrical generator, which is generally available and got designed over last hundred of years, are of higher speed. But the wind turbines which are there, which are generally working optimally at a lower speed, generally 15 to 18 RPM, but the electrical generators are working even 1500 to 1800 or beyond that RPM level, so that the size is also is limited. So the gearbox is able to match the speed difference. And some of the technology like permanent magnet based synchronous generator, they are not utilizing the gearbox also. Then the electrical generator is producing a energy or power which may not be suitable to be fed directly into the grid. So that's why a power electronic converters are there, which are able to process this electrical power as well as able to exercise few control like making a system as a variable speed system. Then power transformer is there to match a voltage level, and generally these generators are producing a power at around 590 or 610 volt, and this power transformer are transforming up to a transmission system level like 33 kV, 66 or 132 kV, so that this power can be transmitted through the grid. So this is a typical wind energy conversion scheme is there. So next slide, please. So now we can see and discuss what are the exact technologies being utilized. So this is the one of the scheme which is being utilized is known as fixed speed system. In this fixed speed system, a 3-blade wind turbines are there with a gearbox, and a squirrel cage induction generator is used, and a capacity bank is provided, which is able to provide a reactive power requirement of the squirrel cage induction generator, and this connected to the grid. In this case, this system is, as it is a squirrel cage induction generator based system, is the most robust with a very less maintenance is required for that. And a drawback is also there. The drawback is there that reactive power requirement of this not able to produce a reactive power which is now required by the grid, because this wind turbines or wind energy conversion systems are now replacing a conventional synchronous machine which is able to produce electric power. So hence this scheme is very good, was very popular in even country in India as well as abroad. But slowly these schemes are less in new installation. Overall benefit is that maintenance free, very robust, and as well as the cost is also very less. Now coming to the next slide, please. Now coming to the scheme, which are known as variable speed schemes. In schemes, next slide, please. In these schemes, we can see previous slide, please, where the yes, thank you. So in this scheme, we can see there are many different configurations are there. Let's talk about the first uppermost left-hand side scheme. This is based on wound rotor induction generator. A variable resistance is connected in this rotor, which is wound rather than squirrel cage. And by varying a resistance, a speed of this scheme system can be controlled. What is the advantage of this variable speed? We will be going to discuss in the next slide. But here we are just seeing that how overall a speed can be varied. Then once again, a capacitor bank is there to provide electric power support. Now see the middle scheme. The middle scheme is consist of a generator made up of either squirrel cage or permanent magnet or a conventional synchronous generator. But a alternate converters are connected into the stator between the grid as well as the stator of the machines. This photonic equipment are having a AC to AC conversion, where AC input side is of a some voltage and frequency, and once this AC is being converted generally from a back-to-back photonic converter, which is converting AC into DC, that there is a DC link, and then this DC is converted back into the AC, which is suitable to be synchronized with the grid, which is having a nominal frequency and then the nominal voltage, and then can be synchronized with the grid. This photonic equipment are having as they are processing the stator power, it is of the same rating of a system. So this is a scheme is there. By utilizing this stator side photonic converter, the speed of the machine can be controlled, and hence this overall scheme is variable speed system. Now consider the below figure. Below figure is a scheme based on doubly fed induction generator. In this case, the induction generator is the wound rotor induction generator having a back-to-back photonic converter into the rotor circuit. And as this machine can be fed from the stator as well as rotor side, that's why the name is there, doubly fed induction generator. This scheme is sometimes is very popularly known as slip power recovery scheme also, because as compared to the topmost scheme and this below scheme, we can see there is a difference is there, that in topmost scheme, a variable resistance which is dissipating the energy which is coming out from the rotor to maintain a variable speed system. But in the below figure, the rotor power which is extracted from the doubly fed induction generator now can be processed and can be sent back and can be fed into the grid. So that's why this is known as power recovery scheme or slip power, because the power which is coming from this rotor or the doubly fed induction generator is coming from the rotor is having a slip frequency. That's why known as slip power recovery scheme. So by utilizing this scheme, the overall wind energy conversion system is made more efficient. Second important advantage in this doubly-fed induction generator is that this power converters are connected into the rotor. That's why the rating of these converters are less, because the variable speed range is only utilized for the wind energy conversion system is of only 30%. That's why based on this range, the rating of this converter is also almost a 1/3 of the stator rating, and hence as compared to the middle scheme, the rating of the photonic converter is 1/3. That's why overall cost of this scheme is also less. That's why this duplicate induction generator based scheme with back-to-back photonic converter in rotor side is the most popular scheme, and the most number of in generators are installed based on double-fed induction generator. So this is a important scheme. We'll be going to discuss how this particular configuration is able to meet the technical grid connection requirements of a different nature. If you anyone would like to raise any question in this, then please let me know. Next slide, please. If there is any question in this, then please let me know. Okay, now coming to the concept of variable speed system and why it is advantageous. For that, please see this particular expression known as power, which is coming from a turbine or overall wind system. It is given as Cp into half rho A V cube, where Cp is known as power coefficient, rho is the wind energy that rho is the density of a fluid, A is the rotor blade swept area, and V is the velocity in the wind. So that's why we can see that a windy side is preferred because the power which is here having a V cube expression. Then what is a power coefficient? So power coefficient is based on that how much kinetic energy can be converted into mechanical energy. And theoretically, it's a limit is there, which is saying that around 59% of power which can be converted from kinetic energy to maximum today mechanical energy, and that is known as Betz limit. It is a very small and nice derivation. I suggest you to please find some time to see this derivation. It's very beautiful. Let's understand this particular derivation, how it is working. So for that, please assume that a 3-blade wind turbine system is there. So whenever the kinetic energy of the wind is striking these blade is rotating, and hence kinetic energy is converted into mechanical energy. So this 59% can be made 100% only and only if moving wind is going to be stopped by completely by this 3-blade wind turbine system. If it is able to stop, it means wind speed is 0. That's why we are able to see a moving wind is stopped at 0 speed, and hence complete energy in the moving wind is being utilized. Let's take an example. Instead of a 3-blade, take an example of a disc. If a disc is there, disc is rotating, then when wind is striking on this disc, wind will be going to be have a complete stop. And hence we can say 100% of the moving wind is energy in the moving wind is converted into mechanical energy. But if you are going to utilize a disc, then what is the problem in that? The problem here is that as soon as the wind in the front of the disk is going to be have a 0 speed, the other part of the wind molecules or wind is going to be have a 0 speed, and hence wind is stopping. So once you are able to convert the 100% electrical into mechanical energy, but then the wind is getting stopped. So it means we need a system in which a wind is also able to blow. It is by a very big wind farm. We can see that there is a difference of a some length is there between each wind turbine of the uh, spread out in that geographical location, so that wind can once again can take or flow easily and can regain its speed also. So this is what a Betz limit is. Now see how this power coefficient and the Betz limit is varying with a tip speed ratio. This is we'll be going to understand a bit more. See this right hand side top figure. So this is a curve or known as characteristics of a wind turbine. In this characteristics, we can see that y-axis is a power coefficient, Cp, and the x-axis is known as tip speed ratio, or known as lambda. So it means this curve is giving us a hint that this particular power coefficient Cp is going to have a maximum value at certain value of tip speed ratio. How to achieve that tip speed ratio or TSR? The expression is given in the left hand side is given, lambda is given as R omega by V, where V is the velocity in the wind, R is the radius of a turbine, and omega is the rotational speed of your rotor. So that's why we can see that R omega by V omega, where V is not in our control. This is the velocity in the wind. So V is the continuously changing. So based on this change in the V, it means if we are able to make our system of a variable speed system, then omega can also be changed. So it means a tip speed ratio where tip of a rotor blade is moving with the R omega, ratio is with V, where V is the velocity in the wind. And once we are able to have a control on this lambda, we can continuously operate on the maximum point of this curve, which is shown in the right hand side top figure, power coefficient versus tip speed ratio. Hence, a variable speed system is allowing us to always work on a CP maximum. In this figure, you can see that CP maximum, which is not a theoretical, but a design based value, it is coming out around 0.39, means even very less than the best limit. So this is how our design is also there. It means there is an opportunity to have a increase the this design value to reach to the analytical obtained best limit also. Is there any doubt in this? Then please let me know. Is there any question in this? Then please let me know. Okay, so you may raise anytime if any question is there. Fine. Now, next, please see that this is about the wind turbine part, but how our electrical generator is working. So below figure, you can see it is a turbine speed which is referred to the generator side is given, and many such wind turbine characteristics are also plotted. Fine. And then you can see these characteristics are of turbine characteristics and of at different wind speed. So topmost characteristics is given as 12 meter per second of wind speed. Similarly, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7 and below. And then if we are working as an electrical generator after this wind turbine, then gearbox, and then our electrical generator is there, x-axis is the speed of the generator in the RPM. Now, to achieve a maximum point of all these curves so that we are obtaining a maximum power from the moving wind turbines, we need to have a variable speed or variable drive system. How to achieve this, we'll be able to understand. But it means for every wind speed, whether it is 12 meter per second or 11 meter per second or 10 meter per second, we need to move our variable energy system or variable wind speed system so that we are always working on the maximum point of these curves. So that's why this process is also known as maximum power point tracking algorithm. So let's take an example. If a 12 meter per second wind speed is there, and if our variable speed system is operating at somewhere at around, let's say 1800 RPM, then we are obtaining a maximum power from the moving wind. Suddenly, if a wind speed is changed from 12 meter per second to 9 meter per second, then we need to move our system rather than 1800, we need to move our system at 1500 RPM. So it means if we want to obtain maximum power from our moving wind, we need to continuously change the speed of our system. That's why a variable speed system is preferred in a case of wind turbine. And some researchers are saying that the amount of energy extracted from a fixed speed to the variable speed system may increase by 50% also. It depends on windy side also. So that a 50% increase is possible in the terms of energy if a variable speed system is there. So this is always advantageous. Right? So is there any doubt in this slide? Then please let me know. Now the next slide, please. This slide is giving us a different grid connection requirements or grid codes of different country. So these are the initially when the grid codes got started coming into the at the different transmission system operators level. Slowly these grid codes are got updated based on certain availability of the technology as well as the making more stricter these technologies. So next slide, please. Yes, so that I have already briefed you that there are many grid connection requirements are there, grid codes are there. So the major grid codes are active power, frequency, or the voltage control, fault right through, and power quality. So these are the major grid connection requirements are there. Next slide, please. So what are the grid connection requirements? As I already mentioned, that the technical requirements, minimum set of technical requirements, which is prescribed whenever a renewable energy sources are getting connected to the grid so that they can participate in maintaining the grid stability as well as the reliability. So this is known as grid codes or grid connection requirements. These grid codes are continuously got upgraded, are getting upgraded also based on the system the penetration level of the renewable energy sources. So next slide, please. Well, then one more slide, please. Yes. So this is the first grid connection requirement we can discuss here. So the first grid connection requirement is about the active power control. The meaning of active power control is that the power which is produced by the renewable energy sources, the active power or the real power, whenever they are getting fed into the grid, a control should be available with the operator. So this is generally known as an adjustable upper limit is available with the operator so that operator is able to change the availability of the or the power which is getting fed into the grid. Fine. So this is a need to be addressed. We are also aware of as the electrical engineer that in our power system, whenever the generation is more, load is less, then our system is the frequency of the system is increased. Our frequency, nominal frequency is 50 hertz with a specified band. And by this diagram, you can see whenever the frequency of a system is increasing, it is expected that the generation should be reduced or the load demand should be increased. So in this case, it is expected that as the 50.3 hertz is being crossed, then the generation should be reduced. So if a adjustable upper limit is available with the operator, then this exercise can be done. So and beyond 51.5, it is expected that the generation should be back down to the zero level. So this is what a understanding of a active power control. But sometimes we can also understand this that the active power which is coming from the turbine, it can be reduced very easily. But what about the increase? Or can we increase the active power coming from the wind? So in this case, answer is no, because the power which is coming from the wind turbines or wind energy conversion system is not in our control. It is, hello, is there any question? So as the power which is coming from the wind turbines are not in our control, it is a nature dependent. So, and as I have mentioned in previous slide, we are already working on maximum power point threshold algorithm. It means we are utilizing the maximum power available with the moving wind. So increasing the active power is not in our control until unless a wind is also able to blow and able to provide a more amount of energy. So that restriction is there. Fine. That's why when we are talking about automatic frequency control, where a change in the active power is there to based on the frequency signal is very difficult to be exercised in this case. But some of the researchers are offering a solution. The first solution is that the wind turbine system is having a inertia, and whenever the more amount of active power is required, this moving inertia can be utilized momentarily to get more amount of energy and to fed into the grid if a frequency is low. So this is how a extra amount of renewable of energy can be obtained for participation in the frequency control. So that is possible. What could be the other solution, or what could be the drawback of this solution? The drawback of this solution is that suddenly we are coming out of a maximum power point tracking algorithm, because due to this a taken out of a energy from the moving inertia, the system is having a lower speed, and this speed is again can be achieved at a desired speed in some few seconds or some time. So that's why, but a momentarily frequency control is possible. So this is a drawback as well as how the things are processed. The second solution, which is generally exercised, is known as a scheme where maximum power point tracking algorithm is giving a set point, which is a maximum power. So that scheme is suggesting that instead of working at a maximum power point, why not to work below to a maximum power point? Example, if a 100 unit is energy is available in a moving wind and coming out from a wind turbine system, then why not to set a limit of 95 unit. So that's why we are having a 5 unit of uh, possibility to increase the power output from the wind energy control system. But a major drawback in this system is that we are continuously losing 5 unit of energy because we are not operating at the maximum power point. But we are going to have a flexibility of participation in the automatic frequency control. So this is generally being other two solutions which can be utilized for a participation in the automatic frequency control. The other solutions may also be there. It is part of a research, and there is an opportunity to provide the solutions. A simple solution can also be provided. By not to have a energy storage with a wind farm, so that whenever a energy requirement is there, a energy storage device like a very large scale battery bank or flywheel or a simple diesel generator set can also be switched on to participate in the automatic frequency control, and which is these incidents are very less in a you can say a particular year or a particular time frame. So these solutions can also be utilized. Fine. So there are many philosophy and the approaches are possible. Then the next one is the ramping control. Ramping control is that when a wind is start blowing and suddenly wind can have a change in the speed from very low speed to high speed, but a output of this overall wind farm should be controlled in a certain rate. It should not go suddenly from as a step increase in the output power. So this is what known as ramping control. And then another one is known as fast down regulation. It means if a grid is in abnormal condition and is expected to back down the generation from the wind farm, then a regulation is expecting that a like 100% to the 100% to the very less amount of active power from the wind farm can be reduced. So this is known as fast down regulation. So these are the ranges are generally prescribed in the Indian Electricity Grid Code. So next slide, please. So this slide is giving us whatever I have discussed here, which says that how much adjustable upper limit is available. We can see that it is an accuracy of plus minus 55% is there from range from 20 to 100%. Then ramping control is also there, which is saying that upward direction is the power should not be increased like 10% of rated power per minute. So this is how the ramp increase in the active power when the wind is blowing can be exercised. Next slide, please. Then for the fast down regulation, it is mentioned that for the fast down regulation, it is mentioned that a power should be back down from 100% to 20% in less than 5 seconds. So there are many such, you can say, reduction ramping controls are prescribed in the Indian electricity grid code. Fine. Then there is a if you see the reference part, it is from this regulation which is available at Central Electricity Authority CEA website. You may also refer, which is Technical Standards for Connectivity to the Grid Regulations 2019 for 10 megawatt and more range of wind farm. Then next slide, please. This is a known as active power requirement or the frequency control. Similarly, we are also having a reactive power or voltage control requirements. In this case, it is expected that that wind farm or the solar farm or the other renewable energy sources should be able to provide reactive power. It should be able to absorb the reactive power based on the grid connection requirements. But in a broad sense, it is expected that the wind farm or wind turbine should be able to have a zero reactive exchange with the grid. They should not be either taking or should not be injecting, or they are able to maintain a zero reactive exchange with the grid. But if you refer that our wind turbines are most of the time is made up of a induction generator, so they for their operation they require say reactive power rather than feeding into the grid. So this is a very difficult situation for such type of wind energy conversion system. But with the utilization of power electronic converter, it is possible that the induction generator with autonomic converter is able to produce the reactive power for their self consumption as well as they are able to inject into the grid also. So this is what a reactive power connections or reactive power requirements are there. Other than this, another requirement for a voltage control or reactive power control is that a reactive power capability curve is also need to be provided to the transmission system operator so that a operating point is also be available with the operator that how much margin is available for the active power and the reactive power feeding or the absorption from the grid or into the grid. So this is what is expected. So next slide, please. So this slide is giving us a that how much uh, operating zones are there when we are talking about the voltage control. And please see that below figure, which is like showing us a how much reactive power requirements are there. So this red thick line is giving us a hint about that how much. This particular curve is from both of these curves are from the German grid code, which gives us a that how much reactive power is required, and similar curves are also there for the Indian grid code also. So this below figure curve, you can see the y-axis is about that additional reactive current requirement. So the x-axis is the that how much voltage is there. So if we say that if the voltage is reduced by 50%, then it is expected that a 1 per unit of additional reactive current is required. If it means if a voltage of a grid is reduced and due to this reduction in the voltage, a reactive power is need to be fed into the grid, that is given as a for 50% voltage, it is given as a 1 per unit means among the rating of the machine itself. So this becomes very strict grid code, which is from a German grid code. Right? Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yes. So this particular slide is giving us a capability curve of W-fed induction generator. So we'll be going to discuss this capability curve. So, but we are aware of that we have studied capability curve of a synchronous machine, synchronous generator, but such type of curve was not earlier available for a for a induction generators or induction machines. But with a power tonic converter, it is very much possible that induction machine is able to absorb as well as able to give the reactive power. So that's why such curve is there, and which is expected by the transmission system operator, so that a operating point can be find out, as well as it is also able to find out that how much margin is there by which a reactive power can be injected or can be absorbed from the grid also. Here you can see that green line is given as a slip speed. This is a slip speed is based on maximum operating algorithm, maximum power point tracking algorithm, and availability of the wind speed. And this slip speed is being followed by most of the time variable speed wind energy curve system, and this overall capability curve is obtained for this given slip speed. Fine. So next slide, please. So next grid connection requirement is known as fault right through capability. The fault right through capability is the requirement for a generating systems to revert to the normal operation whenever the fault in the power system is happened and it is getting cleared. So in this case, it is expected that a disconnection from the grid of the renewable energy sources is not expected. Right? It is it was followed earlier by, but it is nowadays it is expected that the wind or solar farm should remain connected to the grid and is able to have a active and reactive power injection from the grid. Next slide, please. One more slide, please. Yes. So this is a fault right through capability curve or fault right through curve from a German grid code. So that will be, let's discuss this one. So this German grid code is giving us this curve. This red thick line is a fault right through curve. The x-axis is talking about time in millisecond. It is from 0, then 150, 700, and then 3000 millisecond. The y-axis is about the voltage where the wind farm or wind turbine is connected. So this curve is saying, this curve is giving us a input that when a voltage is reduced to 0, even during 0 to 150 millisecond, the tripping of the wind turbine is not allowed. It means the wind farm or wind turbine technology should be capable enough that if a grid is also having zero value of voltage where the wind turbine is connected, the system should not be disconnected. Earlier, what used to happen? Earlier, it was simple disconnection of the wind turbines was happening when the penetration level of the wind turbines or the wind energy conversion system was very low. They are simply getting disconnected, and during that time when the abnormal condition is there, conventional synchronous machine used to supply the active and reactive power and needs to maintain the system. But now it is expected that as their penetration level of the renewable energy is even beyond 20%, they can't be disconnected during such fault and abnormal condition. This curve now we can see that is saying that after 0 to 150 millisecond, even if the voltage is 0, should not be get disconnected. But there is a short-term interruption is possible. We'll be going to discuss the short-term interruption in coming few slides. Now you can see slowly the thick line is increasing, having a ramp rate. It means even if the voltage is got regained, but it is less than the 100%, by this red thick line above part is that no tripping should be there. But if the voltage is below this thick line, below red thick line, then during the if the time is more, then in this zone of 3 and zone 4, a disconnection of the wind farm or solar farm is possible, but in a phase-wise manner. In like that, after every 1.5 second, some 25% of the wind farms of a given or the given capability can be disconnected. So this fault right through capability is given for a German grid code. Now, next slide, please. The next slide is giving us a fault right through capability of Indian grid code. Here we can see this grid code is saying that if the voltage is right hand side figure, you can see the voltage is 300 up to 300 millisecond. If it is 0.15 up to 0.15, then system need not to be disconnected. And but if the voltage level is below this, then system can be disconnected. So we can, as compared to the Indian grid code, we can see that German grid code is very strict. Our Indian grid code is giving more flexibility to the wind farms or solar farms to be get disconnected during the abnormal condition. So this is what a fault right through capability curve is there. So next slide, please. So this particular slide is giving us that when a voltage is beyond the specified voltage or known as high voltage right through HVRT, previous curves was there for LVRT, low voltage right through. So if the voltage is beyond a specified values, the wind farms can also get disconnected. If it is like example 1.30 time PU voltage is there, then instantaneous strip is there. But if the voltage is around 1.10, then should not be disconnection should not be there. Next slide, please. Then supervisory control and data acquisition systems should also be installed, and informations and the parameter values and the controllability should be there for different parameters, as well as the different control opportunities will be there. So such type of connection, remote connections and the control possibility should be always be available. So this is what also come under the grid connection requirement. Next slide, please. Next slide is talking about the power quality standard. The IEC standard is need to be followed for the power quality. The power quality broadly can be under voltage sag, voltage swell, harmonics, flickers. All these are also should be as per the IEC standard. So next slide, please. So finally, we can understood that all these grid connection requirements are to be expected known as at a point known as point of common coupling. So this right hand side of this point of common coupling is developed by the state electricity boards where the infrastructure is of the state, and the left hand side is mostly it is a renewable energy developer or wind farm or solar farm developer. So the point of common coupling is also a debatable point. It depends on different state to state. There are different states are having different definition of point of common coupling, and it is required that in a country where this definition of point of common coupling need to be same. In this case, every grid connection requirement are to be expected to meet at the point of common coupling, as well as the energy metering is also happening at the PCC. One possibility is that that every technology, wind farm or solar farm, are augmented by themselves so that they are able to meet all such grid connection requirement what we have discussed. Next possibility is that why not to have a additional equipment like static compensator, SVC, diesel generator set, energy storage or whatever, and which is added to this wind farm or solar farm so that the overall grid connection requirements can be met at the point of common coupling. So both of the possibilities are with us, but in a one sense, we also need to make a balance between the grid connection requirement and the technology, so that our technology should not become so capital cost intensive, so that overall wind energy or solar energy is not viable enough. So that's why we need to make a balance in that. So with this, I would like to stop here for this particular session. We'll be going to discuss more about the doublified induction generator in next session. But meanwhile, if you are having any doubt, then you may please raise now.
Participants, please ask if you any doubt regarding this session.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I'm a bit confused with one point is that you have shown the percentage of power available and the frequency matching diagram. So suppose the grid frequency is between 50 to 51 hertz. So at that moment, the power available from the wind power is between 15 to 100%.
Okay, so that curve that you are talking about is of active power requirement
Yeah.
or the yeah. So this is what it is saying, that if a frequency of a system, let a wind farm is working at 100%. It means if
Yeah.
a wind farm is having 5 MVA of one wind turbine and it is working at 5 MVA, it means it is working at 100%. So if a frequency is going beyond 50.3 hertz, then it is expected that the output of this wind farm, which is 5 MVA, should be reduced in that particular ramp rate or below that. Fine. So it means active power is available with the wind farm or wind turbine, but if the frequency of the system is going beyond, then to maintain the grid frequency in a specified range, the output of a wind farm should be reduced. We are not increasing the power, but we are reducing the power which is available with the wind farm, but to maintain the grid frequency. So this is what my answer is there. If it is not clear, then can you please once again raise your query?
No, sir, actually, then miss power is already generated. So how can we reduce the power? Then where that power means what is the actual process to reducing power?
Yeah, I got your question.
Yes,
The
sir.
power is actually continuously being produced and getting fed into the grid. Fine.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
if an active power set point or reference point is available with the system operator, they will be able to reduce. It is something like a speed that we are deciding on. Let in car is there, we are putting our leg on the accelerator, pushing, so that we are maintaining a speed like 100 kilometer per hour. But if we are able to see some obstacle is there, we are reducing our set point, reference endpoint, so that our speed is reducing. So instead of 100 unit of electricity we are generating and sending into the grid, we are now sending only 50 unit into the grid. This is what I am saying. So this reference set point is always available with a controller or with a system operator. They should be able to reduce. This is what a requirement is there.
Okay, sir, but actually mostly wind power are the isolated and there is no man-made operations are there. So this can be done automatically by SCADA control.
Yes, it can be done by automatic SCADA control, and it is done by the automatic SCADA control or automatic control. A manual operator is generally is not required until unless some emergency situations are there. So this is mostly, it is already programmed, and these curves are being fed, and whenever the some signal is coming from the load dispatch centers that you need to back down, and then that's why this reference set point is reduced, so that overall set point of the each individual wind turbines are reduced, so that the power can be backed down.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.